Hey everyone, welcome to my review of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I just want to let you all know that I was not provided with a reviewed code. I played a copy off of Game Pass on release date, so nothing given to me from Amazon, or not Amazon, Microsoft or Bethesda or Machine Games. Not sponsored at all. This is my own personal review of the game, and all of the footage you see is captured from my streaming of the complete Indiana Jones game, and there will be no footage of anything outside the first couple hours of the game, so very, very light on spoilers as far as the game capture is concerned. So with that out of the way, let's get on to the review. When the first trailer dropped for this game, a lot of people, including myself, were a bit perplexed that they chose to make a first-person shooter Indiana Jones game. After all, if you're playing as Indiana Jones, you want to see Indy. Well, I can say that this game is not a first-person shooter, at least not in the normal sense. And yes, you play in first person, and yes, there is shooting, but for the most part, you're exploring, sneaking, puzzle solving, and brawling. Shooting is probably the least thing you do in this game, generally speaking, and it's usually a last resort. As far as the first-person view goes, immediately in the opening level, this makes you feel like you're Indiana Jones and not just playing as Indiana Jones like you might if it was third person. The way Machine Games has set this game up, I haven't felt this immersed in a video game in a long, long while. Like any classic Indiana Jones film, you're Indy, and you're in a race against the zombies. You're in a race against the Nazis to find the magical MacGuffin that is the key for the Third Reich's victory to take over the world. You travel us to various locations around the globe, solving puzzles, exploring, sneaking around the bad guys, and just overall being a world-class archaeologist and adventurer. I mentioned classic indie films because this game fits in neatly with the 1980s Lucas Spielberg classics. Troy Baker does a wonderful job filling in for Harrison Ford. If I didn't know any better, I would have assumed Bethesda and Microsoft paid a ton of money to get Ford to reprise the role in this game. Gina Lombardi is Indy's sidekick for this adventure, and she feels a lot like Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark and not annoying like Billy from Temple of Doom. Also, Emmerich Voss, the main antagonist for this game, is the perfect villain for this genre of film/game because it does feel like a movie. Some of my favorite things about the game are the level designs. The overall levels are pretty open and allow you to explore and reward you for doing so, while the temples/dungeons are fairly linear, which I appreciate because there's a lot of platforming in them. Some of it can be difficult, and if this was like a maze-like open world structure in those dungeons, it would be very frustrating. I'm looking at you, Water Temple from Ocarina of Time. Speaking of the temples, to progress in them, you'll have to solve a series of puzzles usually. They range from fairly obvious to brain teasers, but all feel fulfilling when you complete them and further the immersion of being Indiana Jones. The game doesn't hold your hand easy either. Using the camera, you can get some hints, but that doesn't tell you exactly what to do. This is both good and bad. It makes you think for yourself, so when you do figure it out, you feel accomplished. But there were a few times I was absolutely lost, and it just took some lucky guesses on my part to actually figuring out the puzzle. Luckily, the puzzles like this that are super difficult and very vague are few and far between. The graphics of the characters as well as the levels are so realistic. I would love to see this game on someone's rig with a top-of-the-line graphics card because I was playing on the Series X and it still looked amazing to me. On the Xbox, the game ran very smoothly. I only ever noticed a couple of hiccups in the 15 plus hours of the game, which is about how long it takes to beat the game with only doing a few side missions. There are plenty of side missions, though, to complete, but you don't have to worry about getting them all done before you beat the game because once you complete the main story, the game allows you to jump back into the game and you can skip around to the levels to complete the various field missions that you have left to complete. As great as this game is, it does have a couple of flaws. The combat is a bit clunky at times, and it takes a few brawls to get used to it. The weapon degradation makes Breath of the Wild's weapons seem indestructible, and I wish Indy had more stamina to start the game. It gets drained pretty quickly if you're fighting more than one opponent at a time. Oh yeah, also snakes. There had to be snakes. Overall, this game is not only a great entry into Machine Games' portfolio, but also into the Indiana Jones mythos. It fits neatly between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, and feels like an Indiana Jones movie. In spite of some clunky combat, the adventuring, puzzle solving, and cutscenes make this game a must-play for any Indiana Jones fan, or fan of adventure games for that matter. That's why we're giving Indiana Jones and the Great Circle a 9 out of 10.